on!
Restaurant bosses!
Shame on!
Restaurant bosses!
Rain on!
Restaurant bosses!
Sisters and brothers, very rich CEOs and owners of the biggest restaurant chains and the biggest restaurants, not only in this country, but US-based restaurants around the world, are inside the Ronald Reagan building. The reason why they're having their meeting in the Ronald Reagan building is because they are so hated by workers and ordinary people because they pay slave poverty wages and they mistreat their workers and they get richer by the hour, that they needed to go into a federal building to have federal protection.
Cowards!
They're there at a banquet, eating nice food and drinking fine champagne and wine. There was a study that was released about a week ago that said that the major restaurant bosses, this includes the greedy bosses that are meeting downstairs in this building, on average make 1,200 times what an average restaurant worker makes. Do you know what that is? That means if a restaurant worker is making about $8 an hour, some restaurant boss is making almost $10,000 an hour. $10,000 an hour to $8. And that's why we're here. McDonald's workers can't survive. Wendy workers can't survive. No workers can survive.
On 725.
Workers can't survive.
On 725!
Workers can't survive.
On 725!
We can't survive on 725. We can't survive on 725. We can't survive on 725. We can't survive on 725.
I remember when we made 50 cents an hour, which actually is a lot more than the $3.25 is nowadays for workers, frankly. So a lot of us who've done this kind of work and know how hard it is to work, and many of these restaurants, these big chain restaurants that are owned by all sorts of investors on Wall Street who want to keep everybody's wages low, because when you keep the fast food workers' wages low, you keep everybody's wages low.
That's right.
So we just had to make sure that they can hear me, because I saw some of them walking in the building with smiles on their faces, but let me tell you, if they're not scared right now, they should be, because they need to wipe their smiles off their faces. They're gonna, if they're not having nightmares tonight, they should be, because workers are coming back. We are coming together. I got the CEO of Pizza Hut here today. Well, you need to listen up. When I was there, I worked there for about 2 years, and I remember folding so many pizza boxes, vacuuming, all that on a tip salary. I was getting paid $2 an hour to not even make tips, right? That happens all the time. And, you know, all I thought I could do was just quit and move on to the next job. Well, I don't know if the Papa John CEO is in there, but if he is, he needs to listen up. I can't even tell you how much sexual harassment I faced when I was there by a man twice my age. Shame! You all, for those that just came here, you should be scared, because we are coming back and we are getting what's ours. We are not going to sit back and make profits for you. We are going to make the profits that we create.
So, for all the pigs that are going inside of this building right here, the Ronald Reagan Center, what you need to do is cough up a few extra dollars off of the millions and billions you've made on the behalf of everybody's back out here and put up or shut up.
And I want to talk about the real conditions that are facing youth in this country right now. You know, we're talking here about the low wages that youth in the fast food and restaurant industries, what they make. But let's face it, there's millions more youth who aren't even lucky enough to have a job, and they're unemployed, right? And what are they building right now? You know, they're not providing jobs for these young people. What do they have right now? What are they setting up all over this country? Prisons. And in the schools all over this country that they're closing down and replacing with these charter schools, what are they putting in the schools? Are they putting new teachers? No, they're putting cops.
Right.
Right? We're entering a transition. This country and this world is in a transition to permanent low wages, to a high-tech police state. This system doesn't have room to provide jobs for people, so they're building prisons. It doesn't have room to provide decent employment for people, so it creates short-term, low-wage, part-time labor. That's the transition that this country is in and that this world is in, right? The bankers have a blueprint for the whole world, and they're unfolding before us more and more profits for themselves. Their system can't operate. Why? Because if you pay people low wages, they can't pay their bills, and the whole thing doesn't work out, right? It's a mess, and they can't get out of it because their system is based on profits. The world is in a dive, it's in a collapse. That's what their system offers. And think about it, what kind of options do they have to save their system? Well, I'll tell you. They've got fascism and war. They've got cops on every corner beating people up. They've got prisons, and they're talking about another war. They're telling us all that we gotta hate Russia right now. They're telling us all that we gotta hate Iran right now. They're telling us we gotta hate China. Well, I'll tell you something. I don't hate the Russians. I don't hate the Chinese. I don't hate the Iranians. I hate the billionaires and the bosses in this building that are robbing the future of the next generation.
This is also a gender issue. This is a gender issue. All right, 2/3 of tipped workers are women. 1/2 of that 2/3 are single mothers. 1/2. Single mothers. So our children are being hurt by these low wages.
It gives me great joy to be out here with these demonstrators to fight for the basic things, a living wage and a human right to life. First of all, within the headlines of the papers, nothing is being said about the biggest crisis that is facing the working class today, and that's homelessness.
Which is coming up on May Day, and especially of the struggle of no more deportations, not one more deportation. Because just in 2 more days, we're all going to be going back to our respective cities and holding major demonstrations on May Day, which is Workers' Power Day. I know in Baltimore, and I know it's true in New York City and Philadelphia and the other cities where people have come from, that there are very critical demonstrations taking place. I can obviously speak most clearly about Baltimore, where the major theme of our demonstration is to demand $15 an hour now, to demand workers' rights, to demand no more deportations, to demand jobs and education, not police terror, not jails for our youth.
Because of the low wages that the Staples workers would be working under, that would be doing the postal work, the post office wouldn't have to pay the high wages that unionized postal workers are getting. That's the difference. It's low wages. That's what the people in the unions today, in the high-paid jobs that allowed me to send my kids to college and to buy a house and a car, we only got that because we fought for a union. We went on strike in the 70s during the Nixon administration. We fought for these wages, and that's what's going to have to happen today.
Low-wage workers, what the National Restaurant Association is advocating is poverty for all workers in this country. It's a misnomer to simply say low-wage workers because we're all low-wage workers at this point. All of us.
Tune in!
Thank you. You know Super Shadow, the blue van passing. Super Shadow is owned by Veolia. Veolia is a vampire. Veolia is a symbol of oppression, symbol of unfairness. Veolia put the driver on the road, driving 24 hours and going home sometime with nothing in their pocket. They buy the gas from their pockets to drive for them, make money for them. But after, at the end of the week, when they get the check, they're almost $5 an hour. We need to fight that. They don't want the people unionized. Yes, I used to be a former driver, Super Shadow driver. I was kicked out because I tried to organize the driver to fight for the working condition. So I say, from the day they kicked me out, I'm not gonna rest until justice will be done. Shame on Veolia.
And I just want to say this, people think that government employees get well paid, but no, they are part of the low-wage workers in this country.
We are all workers. They are the bosses, we are the workers. People can sometimes fool themselves into thinking they're outside of the category of workers, bosses, somehow in some middle zone, but really it comes down to this. If you labor in exchange for a wage or a salary, and any kind of compensation you get is by dint of your own labor. In other words, it's not the result of somebody else's labor. You are a worker. And all workers have a right individually and collectively to expect and to pursue conditions of employment that sustain human dignity and fairness. And that's why I think it's important for all trade unionists to be out here. Because no matter how privileged or protected we may individually feel at certain times because of the incomes we've derived, that's all been on the backs of the struggles of our forebears, the sisters and brothers that came before us. And so it's incumbent on all of us as a matter of basic solidarity. Out of the sense of an injury to one is an injury to all. All of us trade unionists should be out here in the streets, out here in the struggle for the least protected and the least privileged members of the working class.
That it was vitally important for you to be here. Some of these wealthy, privileged millionaires and billionaires inside, they have never seen a protest before. They're not used to people arguing with them. They're used to ordering people around. They're used to telling people what to do. They say jump, and workers say how high. They're used to workers being nervous every time they come in the store because they know they could be fired. And just being here today, you're letting them know that it may not be the tidal wave that's going to drown them, but it's coming.
It's coming.
Those days of being afraid of them because of their wealth and privilege and power, those days are coming to an end. And they're going to remember you. And they're especially going to remember you when they find out that the workers in their restaurant are trying to organize a union